Coming to you live for the Build Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you're on the free Odyssey app. Good Wednesday morning. I really thought this was going to be the Giants offseason. And we were going to be talking about them every single day. And the Jets were going to take a back seat. And not a lot of stuff was going to happen with them prior to the draft. Well, I was wrong, because now the Jets are in the forefront once again, and it was all over the radio station here yesterday. Of course, we were talking about all of the Frank stuff, which I guess there was really not a major update yesterday outside the fact that he was in the building and went through his second interview, so we'll wait to see if and when that becomes official today as him being the offensive coordinator, which we believe is the way that this is trending. But then Sean Morash comes on the air and says that Darren Muji is telling everybody that Woody Johnson is meddling too much and he's not going to be here for a very long time. Muji himself. And then Sean says that it was Woody Johnson who squashed the Wink Martindale thing. Then Craig comes on and he squashes Sean Morash and tells him that that's not true. So it was a wild day, man. I tell you. How was your dinner with Frank Reich? Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
All right. Good morning, G. Yeah, I did have dinner with Frank Reich last night.
Oh, nice.
And it was absolutely great. We ate at Roots Steakhouse over in Summit, and great place, by the way. I've been there before, so it was easy. And yeah, we spent about 2.5 hours together just going through pretty much everything. You know, he thought he had a great interview yesterday. Really appreciated the professionalism, understood exactly what was going on over there, that they had Darrell Bevell in, that they had Greg Roman in, and they were doing all their due diligence on everybody, making sure that the right guy is going to be hired. And he said he was thoroughly impressed with the building, with the practice facility. He was actually blown away by it. Like, you know, you don't realize it. Like, when we go over there, we kind of take it for granted.
Well, yeah, and we've been there several times. We know what it is now, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the first time he was exposed to that type of thing. And he was like, wow, this is really amazing. Like, and, you know, everybody has a perception of what's going on and everything else. All I can tell you is that the dinner we had last night, he said it was the interview, the timing, the questions, the in-depth aspects of what is trying to get done over there. He came away really impressed, and he's been in a number of interviews, and he felt like this one was really well done, and he felt good about it, felt very confident about it. And, you know, hopefully, like I was telling you yesterday, I said 24 to 48 hours.
Yes.
So now we're starting into the 48-hour part of this.
Yes.
And I figured today that the Jets would make a decision one way or the other. I think I know which way they're going to go. But, you know, you never are, I think, totally comfortable until the ink hits the paper, as they say.
What did Greg Roman order at this dinner?
Greg Roman was not at this dinner.
Oh, okay. What did Darrell Bevell drink at this dinner?
He was not at this dinner.
All right, so those guys are out of town now?
I don't know if they're out of town or not.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
All right. Well, if that is the case and they're not around and you're not being joined by them at dinner, we could probably put to bed the fact that those guys would also be on Frank's staff, even though it was trying to be implied by others who cover the Jets yesterday that because these other guys aren't linked to other organizations and all of a sudden everybody's here at the same time and the Jets have several open jobs that maybe all these other former offensive coordinators and head coaches, at least two of them, would be on Frank's staff if he were the leader.
Here's what I would just say, you know, and I understand that they're insiders. Everybody's trying to get information. What did I say about Aaron Glenn when he first got to here? He locked all that stuff down. Like, we didn't see a lot of information. Remember, from Diana Rossini and, you know, all those people that had, you know, and Connor Hughes, of course, had a number of things that had come out over the past couple of weeks that I thought were really accurate. You know, all of a sudden now, the last, I would say, 5 or 6 or 7 days, I think people are grasping at straws now a little bit. And I'm not here to break news. I mean, I'm here to tell you that I had a great dinner last night. My expectations will be met, but until ink hits paper, you never know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So I would just say, like, I heard what went on here yesterday, and some of it's actually entertaining and funny.
Well, I think most of it is.
Yeah, you know, and some of it's ridiculous, and that's why I find it laughable. And once the Jets, just like when the Giants made the decision yesterday to hire Matt Nagy. All right, so they hire him. He's now going to be the offense coordinator everybody calms down now.
Well,
nobody's fishing for more
information. I mean,
Right,
the fan
exactly.
base is sort of split on it.
The same thing's going to be. It's going to happen with the Jets too. So I mean, like I said yesterday, 24 to 48 hours. We're in that 48-hour window now, and hopefully we'll hear something before we get off the air. And if not, maybe it'll come right after we get off the air. Who knows?
Like it usually does.
Yeah, but the furor around this, like just the craziness around this, is from where I sit from is actually it's actually very funny.
Well, I mean, there's two different things that are going on. There's the offensive coordinator search and finality to that story, and then there's everything that went on here with Sean, and then Craig refuting it yesterday after we got off the air. So, one of the things that Sean said, I believe, because we even talked about this a couple days ago with the Wink Martindale thing being shut down by Woody Johnson because of the money. It was one of the discussions that we had where it wouldn't have surprised us if Woody came in and said, wait a second, I'm paying you a pretty big salary, Aaron. You're a defensive guy. You're looking at guys who are going to command a big salary on the offensive side of the ball. Now you're telling me you're bringing in this guy who commands a big salary, has got a reputation in Wink Martindale. Like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I want you to call the play. So that's something that's believable because I was having the conversation with you trying to connect the dots on that whole thing. So that's something that's believable, especially if it ends up being Frank, who is going to command more of a salary than some first-time offensive coordinator who was a quality control coach for a year and then ends up here. So there's no doubt that he's going to get paid a little bit more and probably have maybe even a bigger title. So that part I understand. Now, the part about Darren Muji telling everybody that it's a disaster and he's trying to find a way out of here and telling people don't come to the Jets, that one I have to question just a little bit because Darren Muji's got this opportunity as a general manager with all these picks that he has. Like, if Woody Johnson's making the picks, then that's a problem. I don't think he's making the picks. But if Aaron Glenn is the one who is leading this coaching search to a certain degree, even though Woody shot down the defensive coordinator, but it seems to me, everything you have said, that Aaron Glenn is the one who is spearheading this offensive coordinator search, and Woody isn't really involved in that part of it. And Darren Muji has all these picks, and he made all these trades. He's got an opportunity to actually build this team and get the trust of the owner and the fan base. So I'd be surprised if he was telling everybody that he's finding a way out of here. Like, that would be strange to me.
I would say that there's inaccuracies with that second part of that. The first part of it, if Woody did say to Aaron Glenn, I want you to call defense, I could see that. I'm not going to dispute that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm not going to dispute that. The second part of it, the Muji part of it, I will dispute. I will dispute that 100%. That is not accurate, and that is just bombastic and hyperbole is what that is. And I don't want to undercut Sean in any way. I don't want to get in a fight with him or anything. That was his point of view. Somebody may have told him that, and maybe he felt like he wanted to go along with that. That's fine. I don't really care. All I know is that that is not what's going on. That's not happening. I mean, Darren Muji made major trades, has got this team now set up for the next 2.5 years. The question will be, can they win enough games to save the jobs of everybody that is running the team right now? And that's going to be the big question going into next year. And then, of course, I can see it. Let's say they win 7 games next year, which is a vast improvement from where they were this year. And maybe they win a couple games, late in games, and they come back and they win. If possible, then I could see their jobs being saved. But then I can also see, this is the year we could have drafted Arch Manning, and now all of a sudden we're not up at the top of the draft, and such a Jet thing and all this other crap that's associated with it. The one thing I will say, sitting there with Frank last night, he does not buy into any negativity whatsoever. He's just not a negative person. He's a complete optimist, and he's somebody who believes very much in what he can do. And if he does get this job, he can really be have a profound impact on an offense that he believes that there are a lot of really good players here already. He does. And the offensive line coach, Steve Hayden, worked with Ben Johnson. He loves that because, Frank thinks that Ben Johnson has one of the best offensive minds in all of football. And I think I've told you this over the years. When he was with the Detroit Lions, Frank used to tell me that he was doing things with Jared Goff that nobody really even thought about in the NFL. And that's the kind of thing that, Frank really appreciated from the offensive standpoint. And the fact that Steve Hyden, who was a former tight end himself in the NFL, is the offensive line coach, I think is a very, very attractive aspect to this job that people don't understand. These coordinators, they have to be in the room with the guys that have to teach the system. And Frank loved or does love Ben Johnson's system, and he respects him. And Frank has his own deal and the way he works things, the way he calls plays, the way he designs plays. And it's probably one of the reasons why Steve Hyden is still here.
Yeah, and just back to Woody for a second, too, because I've said many, many times, so I don't want to sound hypocritical. I've said many times that a lot of coaches don't look at the Jets as a desirable destination to either start their career as a head coach or revive their career as a head coach, and that's why someone like Aaron Glenn ended up being the coach. This is the one guy who really wanted the job, and someone like Darren Muji who had the connections through Peyton and Parcells and all of that, but also wasn't being considered for any other general manager jobs during that hiring cycle, ends up being the general manager, and the Jets need to build up the roster and get credibility again before other people want to come here. I do think that the league looks at the Jets and people who fail at the Jets as a Jets problem and not a person that was their problem, and the examples are everywhere. I mean, the fact that Mike LaFleur is now a head coach, the fact that Rob Saleh got another shot that quickly, and I think that, Sam Darnold and him being in the Super Bowl is another one of those things that people say it's not really the players or the coaches or the coordinators, it's that place. But I will stop short of the fact that Muji would be telling people he's trying to find a way out.
You're going to tell me that a guy in his first year as a general manager of an NFL franchise is actually going to badmouth the franchise that gave him an opportunity and is allowing him to do what he's doing? Doesn't make any sense to me.
I guess that's part of what Sean was saying, though, was that Woody Johnson's not allowing Darren Muji to do the job the way he wants to do the job. That's what he was saying.
I don't know about that. I mean, those trades were huge trades, and somebody decided those trades. You got to tell me that Woody Johnson decided those trades? I don't believe that.
If he did, I'd have a lot more respect for him because I loved all those trades.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm saying, and that's why I do think that the general manager – well, yeah, he's learning on the job just like Aaron Glenn's learning on the job. But, we lauded Darren Muji for those trades and for recognizing, the team was not going to the playoffs. And the team, when they started, they wanted to win. Justin Fields played pretty good that first game against Pittsburgh. And they almost had a chance to win that football game. And maybe if they do, maybe it's a little bit different. You never know. But as the season wore on, there was a reality check that took place in that building over there, and I think it was Darren Muji. I'm sure maybe Rick Spielman also might have had something to do with it because, remember, he's an advisor. He's a part of the 33rd team. He was a guy that was a GM in the NFL, knows all the people in the NFL, knows pretty much what's going on internally at the Jets, and I'm sure he's helping in some way, shape, or form in terms of consulting. So I just think that the screaming and the yelling and all of the negativity is I understand why it's going on, and I tried to explain this to Frank, but I also said what is needed here more than anything is just everybody needs to calm down. The whole thing just has to calm down, and they have to get back to really worrying about football now.
Yeah,
I think they will, and I hope they will, and I hope that within a day here we're going to get an answer to the question that is kind of befuddling all Jet fans and social media influencers and everything else, and hopefully they'll be happy with the decision that the Jets are going to make.
Yeah, which is what we expect to be a Frank Reich announcement at some point soon. And, I saw all of the crushing of Sean, and Craig wasn't crushing Sean. He was refuting the stuff. So he wanted to make it clear when he was discussing this that I'm not trying to tear up a colleague here. It's just that I have, different information. I'm going to refute some of it, which is fine. But, some of the social media reaction to Sean was crazy yesterday, just ripping him apart. I think
everybody also knows he's a Giant fan.
Well, yeah. So that's a big part of it. So that's one. And the other part of it is, And I'm doing like the dog thing. Like I love the guy, but I really do. Like I've always advocated for them. I've told him how talented he was when he was with DA. I said, yeah, I really hope you get back to FAN and get an opportunity. But his brand up until this point has been a lot of he pooped his pants on the air. He got covered in honey and birdseed in Central Park. We dressed him up as Baby New Year, and he came out and sang he was a human chicken parm. And, like, part of that's my fault because I asked him to do it. He did it, right?
Yeah.
So then when people who know that about him see him in the control room delivering a story where he's going, my fourth thing, people go, what?
Yeah.
They're like, what are you talking about? So that's where that comes from. I mean, it's anybody who doesn't cover a team on a regular basis, who hasn't broken stories before that have turned out to be true, ends up getting crushed. So I mean, I appreciate him, going out and doing that. But I mean, the reaction to it did not surprise me at one bit. That people were like, "Shut up." Who the hell are you? And all of the things that were said about him. So I don't know if he enjoyed that yesterday or not. Like, he might be sick in the head and been like, this was the greatest day ever of all the attention that I got.
Yeah.
Or he might have been like, man, that sucked.
Well, the one thing I do know is make yourself relevant as long as you're accurate. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. I mean, I heard it and I just thought, like, wow, who's ever in his ear, whoever his thought is, whoever his source is, I don't know who that is. I don't know if it's a disgruntled writer over there or somebody within the. I don't know. I have no idea. So all I know is the sources that I, count on or talk to, and that part of the Muji story was, I think, totally sensationalized. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I do think that some of the things that Sean said are completely believable and things that I have even tried to connect the dots and say that's probably what happened as far as Wink Martindale. But, Muji trying to get out and trashing Woody Johnson and the Jets and the talk of the Senior Bowl is Darren Muji's trying to pull the ripcord. Now, hey, I mean, Sean can do a victory lap if Darren Muji steps down, like before the draft or something crazy. Then he could be like, told you so.
Well, we're kind of going down this road with him and Nikki Gist at one point.
Well, she ended up coming out and ripping him.
Oh,
yesterday.
she did? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she popped in.
All right.
She tapped in. Nikki just back in the chat. Let's see.
Okay.
I'll just
was she cussing?
I don't think so.
Sometimes she just lets it rip.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I follow Nikki. Yeah, here we go. All right. Here we go. So she quote tweets something that Sean put out about Muji. He goes, this is what Sean says. He wasn't at the Senior Bowl to be clear on the Muji stuff, but he's told enough friends this, which led to it being discussed in circles the week of the Senior Bowl. And Nikki Gist quote tweets that and says, this is what I'm talking about. Repeating gossip isn't reporting. Unfortunately for WFAN, I cover the Jets too. Woody Johnson meddling isn't a secret. It makes the job challenging. But Muji warning people to stay away from New York, that's cap.
All right, that's cap. So that's I say that's sus.
And then she says, Sean, you give reporters a bad name.
Yeah. It's interesting. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine Darren Muji doing anything remotely close to that, especially with leading into this draft and how much. Like, they have the most draft capital in the NFL right now. So, yeah, they had one of the worst seasons. Yeah, they had a lot of problems. Yeah, they fired a lot of coaches. Yeah, there's a lot of negativity around the team. But going into the most important part of the NFL season, when you are trying to rebuild a team and trying to restart a team, guess what? This first-time GM did an unbelievable job acquiring all these assets.
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
why would anybody think that he would want to leave or say anything negative about an owner that believed in him? And one of the reasons the owner believed in him was, of course, because of Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman, and I'm sure Bill Parcells and everybody else, and Sean Payton. And he watched Sean Payton go through that whole thing with Russell Wilson and then drafting Bo Nix, and he saw all that, how that transpired. So if there's anybody who's been associated with a team that turned around relatively quickly, it's Darren Muji and the Denver Broncos.
Frank order a steak. He's not one of these like tuna niçoise salad
No, he
guys
had
at a steak. All right, good.
I know. Listen, we're two men.
I just wanted to make sure. I mean,
Come
he's in really good shape, so I just didn't know if he's one of these guys that goes to a steakhouse like, let me have a piece of fish.
No, he said he was
with
hungry.
salmon.
He was hungry yesterday. I mean, I didn't get a lot to eat. I guess there's they were in meetings all day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did he order like was he a strip steak guy or a
100% strip steak?
All right, so that's you know what, I like what I'm hearing. I really like that.
Yeah, he's a man.
I know he's a man. I just didn't know how much of one.
Well, he's a man.
He's
an adult man. Yes.
It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.